Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode on respiration exam questions. This video is going to be a continuation of the video before because this is part G and it's not a question, is it? So this video is by itself because it is a 6 marker, and to be honest with you, there's a lot to be said about this. So sit back, get ready, get your pen, pencil, paper, whatever, ready, because we're about to make a lot of notes on this. So let's begin. Let's read. Comment on the results you might expect from this experiment and the conclusions you might draw. So by reading that, we have no idea what's going on, so let's read before it. A group of students wanted to find out if the rate of respiration of a small invertebrate animal was comparable to that of the mung beans. Adapt the procedure used to investigate the respiration rate of small invertebrates, such as woodlouse or caterpillar, with that of mung beans. A lot is going on. A lot. But let's break it down, okay? Firstly, it's all about commenting on the results. And secondly, the conclusions you might draw. Before it says you need to adapt the procedure. So I'm already thinking you need to write how the procedure is going to be done. But you also need to say how you think it's going to go. Like, what results are you expecting to be? Now, they basically want to find out the rate of respiration of two things compared to each other, right? So we have the small invertebrate animal, which would be, let's just say caterpillar, versus the mung beans, okay? It's like a fight. Yeah. So before this question, we saw this experiment, didn't we? Now, this is how they are investigating and determining the rate of respiration of the mung beans. So we basically do the same thing for the caterpillar, but. Here is something I want you to ingrain this into your head. Ethics. Ethics are so important when animals are involved. Whenever an animal is mentioned in a question and you need to do an experiment, or there's a 6 marker involved, you must say, oh, well, there's ethical use of da, and then say what you're going to do to basically protect the animal or the invertebrate or whatever. I used to always forget this point. I only realised that you had to speak about ethical use of the animal after doing the exam questions. But this is a really important point, that whenever you hear or see or find out something that always comes up, you need to write it down and ingrain it into your heads. Because that's literally, you're giving yourself 3 marks because you've put in the work, you're identifying patterns, and then hey, that A star might be yours. So, right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to adapt the experiment, okay? We're going to go from the control variables to the dependent and then independent variable. And then we're going to speak about the results expected. So it's basically like scientific knowledge. This is the framework we're going to use to answer this question. I used to do it all the time actually, especially in my A-level exam. I made myself a framework because in the heat of the exam, you might forget points, and you know what? Sometimes you could panic on the spot, and all that practice you've done can just go away in that instant. If you see a wording that's changed from what you're used to in the exam, you might panic. You might think you don't know what's going on, but I can assure you do know, because you've put in the work and you're practicing basically. And so you want to minimize that friction of you not knowing or panicking in the exam versus you giving the best answer you can. So these pointers, for example, this is very useful, okay? Annotate around your paper. So let's begin. Number 1, the experiment. Control variables are my best friend, really, and they should be yours too. They're so easy, and they get so many marks as well. Okay, think about it. If you want to do an experiment and I want to do that same experiment, what needs to be the same in order for us to get the same results? Well, the mass of the invertebrate, the mass of the beans need to be the same, right? Because then if the beans had a higher mass, isn't that unfair? I think so. Another thing, keep the temperature constant. This topic is about respiration. We all know that it's an enzyme controlled reaction. Control your temperature. Another thing would be when you measure the distance moved by the red liquid, right, in the syringe, in the capillary tubing here, you need to do it at a regular time interval. So, for example, every 15 seconds. You can't just do every 30 seconds for the caterpillar and do every 20 seconds for the mung bean. You can't do that. You need to make it the same. Okay? And another thing is ethical use of the caterpillar. By learning about the practical in class, you would probably have spoken about the whole thing about a soda lime and how, if the caterpillar, for example, were to be, to touch the soda line, that would basically kill them. So, and we don't want to kill the caterpillar, do we? We love the caterpillar. So, if we add a screen or something so that the caterpillar doesn't touch the muslin bag, that'll be great. Because then it keeps the caterpillar safe, and we want that. Ethical. Now we're going to think about the results and the conclusions. Very simply, just think to yourself, who's going to have the highest rate of respiration? The caterpillar or the mung bean? If you say the caterpillar, well done. It's the most obvious answer. Because think about it, you're comparing an animal to a plant. Who moves around? Who has higher and faster metabolic processes? The animal, right? So that's why the caterpillar wins. Literally, your explanation can be the caterpillar has a higher rate of respiration because it moves around and it has metabolic processes that requires a lot of energy. Okay, and that's the end of today's episode. I hope you guys learned a lot and saw things in a different light. Remember, the two most important exam techniques are read the question first and state all the obvious points. Over to you, try some questions and let me know how it goes.